Once, long ago, in a kingdom that thrived between mountains and seas, there was born a princess unlike any other. Her birth was greeted with joy, with banners across the city, with bells echoing from every tower, and with songs sung by every villager. Yet, from the first moment she opened her eyes, a shadow hung over her destiny, though no one in the world yet understood it. By day, the princess was radiant. Her smile seemed to draw blossoms from the earth, her laughter carried like sunlight through the corridors of the palace, and her presence filled the kingdom with peace. Wherever she walked, disputes ceased, storms quieted, and harvests grew abundant. She was the daughter every ruler longed for, the jewel every kingdom desired. When the people saw her, they felt hope, as if their world would never fall into despair. But the curse revealed itself with the coming of night. As the sun fell, as the last light bled across the horizon, the princess would shiver, her eyes clouding with fear, and then she would vanish into thin air. Her room would fall silent, her guards would cry out, her family would search every corner, but no trace of her remained. Only the echo of her last breath lingered in the darkened chambers. While her kingdom slept, the princess walked a different world. A world built of shadows, where the sky was always moonless, where rivers ran with mist instead of water, and where voices whispered without bodies to speak them. She walked among wandering spirits, faceless figures drifting like smoke, eyes glowing like dying embers. They did not harm her, nor did they welcome her. They circled her in silence, as if she was both one of them and not. She could not speak to them, though she tried. She could not touch them, though she reached out. She was trapped between the living and the dead. When dawn returned, she reappeared, always in the same place where she had vanished. Her body bore no wounds, but her eyes carried exhaustion, and her heart carried the weight of unspeakable sorrow. The kingdom rejoiced at her return each morning, but none could ignore the fear etched into her face. As she grew older, the whispers of her dual life spread. Some villagers declared her a blessing, sent by the heavens to protect them by day. Others muttered that she was a curse, a half-ghost who brought misfortune at night. Some swore they saw strange omens whenever she vanished, flocks of crows gathering on rooftops, wells freezing in midsummer, mirrors cracking without reason. The people grew divided. Some left offerings at the palace gates, flowers, fruit, and prayers for her safety. Others locked their doors at dusk, whispering that she was a harbinger of ruin. The king and queen loved their daughter dearly, yet their hearts were torn. They hired scholars, priests, and magicians from distant lands to study the mystery. Some proclaimed that she was chosen by the gods, bound to walk both worlds until a prophecy was fulfilled. Others declared her a punishment for sins forgotten by time. A few even warned that if the curse was not broken, her kingdom itself might sink into the shadows with her. Despite the fear surrounding her, the princess grew into a woman of unmatched grace. She walked the gardens by morning, teaching children to read, tending to the sick, and offering comfort to all. Her kindness was unshaken, though inside her heart cracked like glass, for though she lived among her people, she never truly belonged. Each sunset stole her away, and each sunrise returned her like a ghost who had wandered too far. One summer, during the Festival of Light, she disappeared not at nightfall, but at midday. Panic spread across the kingdom. The sky, though bright, dimmed unnaturally. Torches flickered though no wind stirred. When she returned hours later, she was trembling, her skin pale as frost. She refused to speak of what she had seen, but her silence frightened the court more than any story. From then on, the people noticed that her vanishing no longer belonged only to night. Sometimes at dawn, sometimes at noon, sometimes during celebrations, she was simply pulled away. Rumors thickened. Some claimed the shadow world was growing stronger. Others whispered that its spirits desired her forever, and that soon she would not come back. Still others said she was destined to be queen of that other realm, and that resisting it would doom everyone. The princess herself wrestled with questions no one could answer. Who had cursed her? Was she meant to bring balance or destruction? Was she a daughter of her kingdom or a daughter of shadows? Her days were spent smiling for her people, but her nights were spent wandering endless forests of mist, listening to whispers that spoke her name but never revealed their mouths. One night, she found herself standing at a river made of smoke. On the other side, she saw faint outlines of towers like those of her kingdom, but twisted, broken, and reversed. It was as if her homeland existed in the shadow world too, but in ruin. She dared not cross, but the vision haunted her. Could it be that the shadow world was a mirror of her own? Could it be that what lived there once lived in daylight, and what thrived in daylight could fall into shadow? Her heart grew heavier. She began to write her thoughts in secret journals, hiding them behind stones in the palace walls. She feared her people would call her mad if they read the truth. She wrote of voices calling her queen, of mirrors showing her two faces, of shadows that sometimes reached for her like hands. She wrote of her fear that one day she would not return, and that her kingdom would wake to find their princess gone forever. The king grew older, his crown heavier, and he feared what would happen to the throne when he was gone. He pleaded with sages for an answer. One told him, if she marries, the bond of love may anchor her. Another said, if she is locked away at night, the shadows may forget her. A third whispered, if she chooses the shadow world, she may save us all. The princess listened in silence, but her heart longed not for marriage, nor for chains, nor for sacrifice. She longed only for freedom, to wake one morning and know that she would not vanish when night came. But freedom was a dream, and dreams are fragile things. One evening, as the sun bled red across the horizon, the princess stood on her balcony, trembling as the curse took her again. But this time, she heard a voice more clear than ever before, a voice that came not from the shadows, but from within herself. It whispered, you do not walk in two worlds. You belong to both. And as she vanished, her last thought was this: if she belonged to both, then perhaps she was not cursed. Perhaps she was chosen, but chosen for what, she did not yet know. The years passed, and the princess's curse only deepened. What once was predictable, the vanishing at night, grew erratic and cruel. At times she disappeared for a breath, at times for days. The court scribes marked every occurrence on scrolls, and their pages grew thicker with each season, until they resembled chronicles of loss more than records of life. Her people began to change. They still loved her by day, yet they feared her by night. When she walked through the markets, children ran to her, clutching her hands, their parents bowing in gratitude. But when evening drew near, those same families locked their doors and whispered prayers, as though protecting themselves from a storm. The princess bore their love and their fear in silence, but her heart ached. For in truth, she too was afraid not only of vanishing, but of what she was becoming in the shadow world. There, her reflection had begun to shift. Pools of mist acted like mirrors, and when she gazed into them, she no longer saw only her face. Sometimes she was crowned with black fire. Sometimes her eyes glowed like lanterns. Sometimes she saw herself robed in silver, seated upon a throne made of bone. Each vision left her trembling, for they did not feel like illusions. They felt like memories waiting to happen. One night, the shadows spoke more clearly than ever before. They did not whisper as they once had. They chanted, thousands of voices rising and falling, echoing her name. They called her Queen of Dusk, Bearer of the Divide, Daughter of both suns. And when she covered her ears, the voices did not fade, for they came not from without, but from within. She fell to her knees beside the smoke river she had seen once before. Across it, the ruined towers loomed closer than ever, and in that moment she realized that the shadow world was not separate. It was drawing nearer, as if the two realms, light and dark, were colliding. The next morning she awoke in her bed, her body trembling with fever. Physicians gathered, but no medicine calmed her. The queen wept at her side, the king sat silent, and the court whispered that perhaps the end had come. But the princess rose despite her weakness, for she knew her curse was reaching its heart. That night, she vanished again, but this time, she crossed the smoke river. The waters clung to her feet like ice and fire together. And with each step, she felt herself split, one half flesh, the other shadow. When she reached the far bank, The ruined kingdom lay before her, its towers cracked, its streets empty, its windows shattered. Yet in every ruin she saw echoes of her own home, the palace where she had played as a child, the market where she had laughed with her people, the balcony where she had prayed for freedom. All broken, all silent, all lost, and there upon a throne of stone sat a figure cloaked in darkness, crowned with silver flame. Its face was hers, its eyes were hers, its smile was hers twisted into sorrow. The Shadow Queen rose. "At last," she said, her voice both thunder and whisper. "You have come." The princess trembled. "Who are you?" The figure stepped closer. "I am you, the you that belongs here, the you that has always been denied. The world of light claimed your body, but the world of shadow claimed your soul. You are not cursed. You are divided." The princess shook her head. "No, I belong to my people. I belong to the world of day." The Shadow Queen laughed softly. "Do they not fear you? Do they not shut their doors against you? You are no more theirs than you are mine. But here you will be queen. Here you will be whole." The princess felt the ground tremble beneath her. The ruined kingdom seemed to pulse, as though alive, as though waiting. The spirits gathered, thousands of faceless forms surrounding her, bowing not to the Shadow Queen, but to her. And in that moment, she understood. The curse was not a punishment. It was an inheritance, a choice. If she claimed the shadow world, she would rule it, and the living would fear her no more, for she would never return. If she chose the world of day, she would forever vanish and return, half alive, half ghost, until both worlds tore each other apart. Her heart broke with the weight of decision. She thought of her parents, of the people who prayed for her, of the children who clung to her hands. She thought of her shadow self, who had waited in ruin for so long. At last she spoke. "If I belong to both, then I will not choose one. I will unite them." The Shadow Queen's smile faded. "Foolish. Light cannot hold shadow. Shadow cannot hold light. The divide is eternal." But the princess raised her hands, and from her chest burst a glow, half radiant sun, half silver flame. The two worlds quaked. The spirits screamed, the skies split, and for the first time, dawn broke in the land of shadows. Her body burned with the strain, her soul tearing as though split across stars. Yet she did not falter. She wove the two worlds together, binding them like threads of the same cloth. The ruined towers shimmered, repairing not in stone, but in light. The faceless spirits gained shape, their voices no longer whispers, but songs. The darkness did not vanish, but it no longer devoured. It became balance, and when she opened her eyes, she stood once more in her own kingdom. The sun was rising, but the air shimmered with silver. The people fell to their knees, for they saw in her both blessing and curse, both day and night, both queen of the living and queen of the lost. From that day forward, she was no longer called cursed. She was called the princess who lived in two worlds, the queen who united what had always been divided. But legends warn that such balance is fragile. Some say she succeeded and peace reigned for generations. Others whisper that her choice only delayed the inevitable, and that one day the worlds will again pull apart, waiting for another soul brave enough to walk both realms. And so, her story is told at every dusk when the sun and moon share the sky. A tale of fear, of sorrow, of choice, and of power. The tale of the princess who walked in light and shadow, and became eternal.